we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law.
Tonight, Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of the United States, is a criminal defendant facing 34 felonies.
He surrendered this afternoon, and if there is one lasting image from this historic day, it might be this one. Mr. Trump, stone-faced as he walked into a courtroom here in Manhattan after he was made aware of the felony charges in the indictment. As expected, he pleaded not guilty. Also as expected, he left New York immediately after the arraignment. There is so much to unpack, and we will be breaking down every key development in the 2.5 hours of this history-making day. We're going to analyze all the exact charges against the former president, which include nearly 3 dozen felony counts of falsifying business records. There were no cameras inside the courtroom, but our reporters were there. We will tell you exactly how Mr. Trump reacted every step of the way. Outside the courtroom, it was, in a word, something of a circus. Trump supporters and protesters both gathering. It was quite the spectacle, but not the potentially violent disaster Mr. Trump had warned was possible. And of course, we will look into what's next. We know Mr. Trump is in the air on his way to Florida. We know he'll speak tonight at Mar-a-Lago. But where does the legal case go from here, and what are the political ramifications? Lots of questions. We have the answers. We're going to begin our coverage with Eyewitness News reporter Jim Dolan. He's live outside Manhattan Criminal Court. And Jim, no matter what one's politics, what we have seen this afternoon does not make for much of a happy day for America.
Bill, the people versus Donald J. Trump. That is how the indictment refers to this case. 34 felony counts, we now know, that all relate back to a tawdry hotel room romp that the president wanted to keep quiet, but has now come back to turn a former commander-in-chief into a criminal defendant. A scowling Donald Trump walked into a courtroom in Lower Manhattan today, the first former president ever to sit as the defendant in a criminal case. In court, Trump, not his lawyers, pleaded not guilty to 34 Class E felony counts, the lowest level of felony, all related to falsifying business records in connection with hush money payments the president is said to have made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Alvin Bragg is Manhattan's district attorney.
Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, Michael Cohen wired $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. That payment was to hide damaging information from the voting public. The participant scheme was illegal. The scheme violated New York election law.
I think that what you saw in the indictment that was unsealed today is exactly what has been talked about for the past 7 years, and the district attorney has turned what is actually a completely political issue into a political prosecution, and it's not a good day.
Trump was in court a little less than an hour and did not talk to reporters when he left. He headed to the airport, his brief, unpleasant trip to New York behind him. It was a defiant Donald Trump who left his home in Midtown this afternoon and headed to the courthouse. En route, Trump posted on social media. "Seems so surreal," he wrote. "Wow, they are going to arrest me. Can't believe this is happening in America." It did. At the courthouse, Mr. Trump surrendered to the Manhattan district attorney and was booked and fingerprinted. No mugshot was taken for Trump. As for the felony counts against him,
prosecutorial discretion are the two most important words in our criminal justice system.
Trump was charged with Class E felonies, but similar cases have been charged in the past as misdemeanors.
It'll be interesting as the weeks and months here progress to see what the actual evidence is, not the information that's out in the world, but what the evidence is, who the witnesses will be, and how quickly this case will move through the system.
Trump boarded his plane at LaGuardia Airport with the promise that he will talk about the charges from Mar-a-Lago tonight. Well, there is a long way to go before a trial in this case. In fact, the next court appearance isn't scheduled in this case until December, and that will probably be delayed perhaps until next spring. Judge Juan Merchan warned Mr. Trump about inflammatory rhetoric, but he did not impose a gag order.